Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of The Assembly Cut, the show where I give my raw first impressions of the latest films hitting theatres. And today we're talking about Superman, James Gunn's new film and the first big step in his new DCU or DC universe. And, you know, we're finally here. After years of speculation and discussion about where this new universe was going to head, we finally get our first major glimpse of what this universe is going to be. And, you know, coming straight out of the theatre, I can say that I'm very excited to see where this new universe goes. I thought this film was very good, and I enjoyed the film a lot. It's not without its flaws, there's a few missteps here and there, but ultimately there's far more good than bad. After, you know, what feels like a decade of takes on what if Superman was evil, what if Superman was corrupt, it feels fresh again to get a new Superman take where he's a blend of sincerity, fun and camp, and I thought it worked very well. But before I get too deep into my overall thoughts of the film, I might just give a bit of context to where I sit with superhero cinema in general. I'm quite forgiving. You know, they're part of the reason why I really love the cinema. I grew up in that generation where superhero films were starting to move away from being those obscure kind of weird films to being more blockbuster, you know, like your Spider-Mans, your Dark Knights, your MCUs. So, you know, I'm going to be quite forgiving to superhero films. That's not to say that I don't think there's plenty of superhero films that are awful. We've definitely got our fair share recently, especially with DC. We've had some absolute stinkers. To give my, quick, brief overview of what I think of, you know, Zack Snyder's films and the other films in that universe. You know that scene in RoboCop, the new RoboCop, where they take away all the parts of him that are a robot and all that's left is the parts of him that are human? Yeah, that's basically what I think of that DC universe. You know, there's some parts that are really good, but the rest of it is just absolutely, awful. But yeah, so I was really looking forward to this new take on this DC universe. I'd say I'm pretty positive on James Gunn overall. I've liked more of his films than I haven't. Looking at his DC work specifically, I thought The Suicide Squad was good, I thought Peacemaker was fine, and I thought Creature Commandos was pretty good, but had a few missteps here or there that really hurt it. And so going into Superman, I was looking forward to it. I was avoiding all the, controversy as much as I possibly could. It just doesn't really interest me, all that stuff. All that stuff about Superman being an immigrant, therefore makes it woke. It's just, nonsense to me. The character was made by immigrants in the 30s, and I don't know, what kind of world are we living in where someone just being generous and kind and loving is considered woke? It's just nonsense to me. So I wanted to go into the film as spoiler-free as I possibly could, and I came out of the film really enjoying it. But let's get into why. Firstly, what I really liked about the film was that it leans heavily into camp. It embraces a very playful and heightened tone. The best comparison I could give it is that it's very similar to Sam Raimi's Spider-Man trilogy. You know, the film was not afraid to be earnest, even a bit cheesy at times, but that really worked in its favour. I wouldn't say it reaches the same heights as those movies, but, you know, comparing it to some of the best superhero films ever is a pretty good comparison to make, I'd say. James Gunn also isn't afraid to have fun with the film. There are some meta jokes and some not so subtle pokes at fan culture that I thought landed well without being overbearing. Onto performances, I thought the whole cast were great. David Corenswet was fantastic as Superman. He brings charm, warmth, and charisma to the role. We haven't seen this kind of Superman in a while, so it felt really nice to have this kind of warm and genuine kind of Superman. And it feels like a breath of fresh air, and I thought that he embodied the role perfectly, and I'm looking forward to his future performances as the character. However, I really wish we got to see more of his Clark Kent persona, you know, the one from the Daily Planet. The glimpses we did get were really good, and I just wanted to see more of it, but the film really focuses on, you know, Superman. And I think that I would have loved to see a bit more of Clark Kent. But, you know, that kind of critique comes with the caveat that I thought the performance was fantastic overall, and I wanted to see more of it, is basically what I'm trying to say. Yeah, the glimpses we did get show a lot of potential, so I hope in the future at least we get to see more of that. Nicholas Hoult as Lex Luthor was great. He is a true generational hater. You can tell Gunn and Holt are kind of channeling that real-world, ultra-rich kind of personality. He's basically just a sociopath who doesn't care about anyone but himself and trying to destroy Superman's image. He's calculated, he's menacing, and he's also very unhinged in a very fun way. Rachel Brosnahan was great as Lois Lane. She was sharp, assertive, and a really believable match for this Superman. Their chemistry really shined through, but again, I just wish we got more of it. And that's why I think the film doesn't quite reach those heights of like a Raimi Spider-Man, where those films really take their time building the relationship between Peter Parker and Mary Jane. This film also has those kinds of scenes, but the plot didn't really allow for these characters to spend more time together. We only get a few scenes with them, and I just didn't think it was enough. I would have liked to have seen their relationship kind of grow and die and come back and just kind of build it a bit more. And Krypto just steals the show in every scene he's in. He's a great mix of comedy and heart, and he's definitely going to be a fan favourite. It's hard to get dogs wrong in film, but they really nailed it with Krypto. He was brilliant. And that ties in nicely to my next point about the CGI. It was very solid overall. Nothing groundbreaking, but no major complaints at all. It's sad to say, but it feels refreshing in a way to watch a modern superhero film where the CGI doesn't look awful. But there was never a point in Superman where I thought, oh, that looks a bit off, or oh, that looks a bit fake. And it all worked really well. That said, I felt the action set pieces felt very underwhelming. None of them were particularly memorable or distinctive. You want at least one set piece to really stick out. And unfortunately, this film lacked that. Also, while I'm on the topic of what kind of let me down this film, the design of Metropolis was a big letdown for me. It looked too generic, especially for a film that kind of embraces warmth and camp and a bit of a fun tone. Metropolis is kind of like Gotham. You want it to feel like a character in its own right. And here, it didn't leave much of an impression. It felt very generic. I would have liked to have seen, some more designs that kind of stood out in the architecture or something like that, just to give the film another flavour that kind of makes it stand out. And another one of the more disappointing aspects was the music. Gunn really holds back on his distinctive style. I would say the music in his films is usually a standout, but here it was just very disappointing and nothing. I felt like there was a conscious effort to kind of restrain himself on the soundtrack and kind of embrace the score a bit more, but unfortunately it just doesn't work. The score is just a rehash of John Williams' iconic Superman score. And I'm not knocking Williams' score at all. I think the score is brilliant and is obviously something that stands out as part of Superman's identity now. But I really would have liked something fresh, something new to stand out as well. We're starting a new universe. I would have liked a new score to go with it, rather than just rehashing the old score. You think of other DC characters like Batman. He's had 5 or 6 great iconic scores. So I really think rather than just playing it safe and rehashing the old music, I would have liked something new. But back to what I enjoyed about this film, I really appreciated this film's political subtext. The film has some interesting commentary on Superman's actions and how his simplified, idealistic worldview kind of clashes with the world's complex political reality. I thought it added depth without feeling too preachy, which was a nice surprise. Not to harp too much about it, but I think the political aspect of this film has been very over-exaggerated in the media. The film has a political statement, but I wouldn't say it overrides the overall film. It just adds a bit more depth to the film and to give a bit more discussion to our world, and also what kind of hero Superman represents now. It's not saying anything groundbreaking, but I thought what they added worked really well. So to go back to my overall thoughts, I think the film would have benefited from an extra 10 minutes or so, just to give enough time to flesh out, Clark Kent, Metropolis, or to give the action a bit more weight. The film is a tight 2 hours, it's very lean, and I think the film would have benefited just to slow down a bit more, just allow the characters to really grow. But despite these flaws, the film has a lot of heart. I would say that if you're a superhero fan, you've probably seen this already, but if you haven't, I'd highly recommend it. If you're not a superhero fan, this film isn't going to change your mind. But if you're looking for a fun blockbuster, like a roller coaster type film, Superman is one of the good ones. There's a lot of potential here, and if Gunn keeps building with this level of sincerity and playfulness, we're in for a universe that's going to feel very special. But yeah, those are my thoughts on the new Superman film. But now I want to hear what you guys think down below. Have you seen Superman? What did you think of it? What are your thoughts on this new DC universe? Let me know in the comments down below and let's have a fun discussion about it. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye guys.